the speakers.
We are live. Welcome to the Ango Show. Today is September 16th, 2024. Hopefully you guys all had a great week. I know I did. Great weekend. This is week 3 of the Ango Show live. Today we got a big one. We're going to talk about SmackDown on the USA Network. We're going to talk about Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes teaming up. We're going to talk about the TNA tapings. We're going to talk about a lot. I don't know if I'm getting sick. I don't know. I'm just extremely tired. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My energy may or may not be there today, but we're going to try to push through and we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't really feel sick, but I just feel just a little off, and hey, it's all right. We keep the show going. So with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Just a quick reminder, if you're new here, maybe you haven't shown up to the daily live streams. This is all about you guys. This is all about the chat. So we're going to take a look at the chat. We're going to interact. There's a couple different ways you guys can support the channel, support the show. One way to do it, it's absolutely free. But if you just simply click like and share, those two things help tremendously. And if you guys want to do a little bit more than that, you can do something called a super chat. If you do a super chat that's $5 or more, it activates TTS, which means I'm going to be interrupted by a voice that's going to read your question or comment. And definitely very cool to see that being part of the show experience. Honestly, super chats have become a very big part of the show. It adds a lot to the interactivity. It gives you guys a chance to, guarantee your spot on the show. You don't have to do a super chat, but if you want to, feel free to do so. Excuse me. Got my water right here. Listen, we already got a super chat to kick us off. Darth Bane dropped a $4.99 and he says, for a season premiere, SmackDown was a major flop. No returns, no debuts, no surprises. Wasn't it supposed to be 3 hours? It was weird because there was certain TV cable providers. When you would go to the TV guide, it would show that it was scheduled for 3 hours. WWE never made an announcement, but I do think that caused a little bit of confusion online because a lot of people did see that SmackDown was listed for 3 hours. That wasn't the case. So that is something that I found to be kind of interesting. As far as the season premiere, honestly, guys, I enjoyed Friday's episode of SmackDown. I think SmackDown on USA Network was great. They did have a little bit of an overrun, which is something that we don't typically get with WWE on Fox. So that was really cool. I like the fact that SmackDown had pushed stories forward. I think a lot of people were looking at surprises. I think a lot of people were looking at returns. And the big thing was obviously Roman Reigns coming back. And I don't know, maybe WWE didn't want anything to overshadow Roman and Cody, which, by the way, that's doing extremely well on social media through Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and all the other platforms. It seems like it seems like for the most part, Roman and Cody is generating a lot of talk. So listen, I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I thought SmackDown was good. I think if you're one of those people who expect surprises, that's obviously going to be a downfall. You know, I think there was. I think SmackDown was exactly what it needed to be. They did a really good job of making it feel different from SmackDown on Fox. We got the new SmackDown brand, the new SmackDown logo, the new graphics. Which, by the way, like I know the people who follow me, you guys remember over a year ago. Honestly, it was prior to TKO getting bought out. Like I told you guys, it was coming on the way, which I was really excited to see. You know, even though WWE delayed it, like they definitely did the rebrand. I think the SmackDown one looks really good, man. It looks very sporty to me. One thing that I did want to mention too about SmackDown that was a nice little change at the end of SmackDown, WWE did a they did a like a little copyright tag right on the bottom, and then they did executive producers Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting, which was a nice little touch. They basically wanted everybody to know that Triple H and Lee Fitting are cooking, so that was really cool. Yeah, it's super excited about the way they went about SmackDown, and obviously I'll talk to you guys about the things that I like and dislike. But the episode did what they were supposed to do, which was push the stories forward, because that is the most important thing for WWE, and they did do that, and I'm glad that they did that. Darth Bane, thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate it. Excuse me. We are going to talk about SmackDown, and I have my notes on the screen. We're going to talk a little bit about TNA. We got some news that we're going to discuss. A lot of good things that we need to discuss. So we will definitely do that. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's talk about SmackDown first, and then we'll get to the other stuff, because I think SmackDown is it's easy to get through. It was a very easy, enjoyable episode to watch. So we will definitely start off with SmackDown, and then if you guys have any questions or anything like that, we can do that. Also, too, don't forget, we do have merchandise, 15% off if you use the code I love Ango. New shirts, jackets, hats, hoodies. If you guys are interested in supporting the show, feel free to buy some merch at www.ango.live. You don't have to, but I'm waiting for my merch to come in. I needed some hoodies. It's getting cold relatively soon. This is the lazy kick back, sit back, relax, and enjoy type weather. So I am super excited about that, as you can imagine. I just realized the lights aren't on behind me, which is kind of weird. It doesn't feel like the Ango show, so we'll probably turn those on when we get to a little bit of a break. But let's talk about SmackDown, the things that I liked. Remember, when we do these live shows, we don't break everything down in detail. There's a lot of channels who do that. I always encourage you guys to watch the shows, but some of the things I liked: Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa in the cage match, opening up SmackDown. Excuse me. That was really good, man. Solo Sikoa, Cody Rhodes, probably one of their best matches. Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes go into the cage match. I absolutely love it. It's a shit fest in the sense that it's overbooked. You got everybody getting involved. But I did love the fact that Roman Reigns gets in there. I love that Roman Reigns comes out and he gets that pop. And, you know, I find it really incredibly cool that WWE has figured out a way to make Roman Reigns come out as a massive babyface, to come out and have this massive moment with Cody, but they still don't necessarily see eye to eye. And that is one of the things that has become really cool about this. It's like, this is a partnership that makes sense because their issue is both Bloodline 2.0, but Roman Reigns doesn't forget about Cody taking his belt. And I don't know how WWE plans to go around that from a storyline perspective, but I definitely love the fact that they kind of touch on that throughout the night. One thing that's really interesting too with this cage match, like I told you guys, I was like, hey, maybe like this would be a good spot for Hikuleo to debut or something. That didn't happen. clearly WWE has a vision for where they want the storyline to go. And what's really cool about that is the fact that WWE having that kind of plan long term pretty much indicates to me that WWE already knows where this storyline is headed a year from now. And I don't imagine WWE having too many changes to this storyline because The Rock is already back in the company, whereas Cody and Roman was changed because The Rock was coming back. Just very interesting altogether the way it's put together. But I do think for the most part that this is a company that has it figured out long term. I thought this was a great match. I thought it was a great way to open up. Keep in mind, Triple H did technically open up the show with a promo. And when you go from a promo from Triple H telling everybody it's a new era, then you have the new graphics and the new logos and the new branding and all this stuff. Then you have Cody versus Solo Sikoa in the cage match. It was one of the rare W's for WWE regarding Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa and Cody did a really good job. Plus, you get the bloodline involvement. Plus, you get Roman going in there, locking the cage. Those are things that are really cool. One thing I also liked about SmackDown was the legends returning. Obviously, RVD and Vicky Guerrero and Teddy Long, and having different members of the legends. Like just throughout the night, you see them in the crowd or whatever. Like, I love the fact that WWE had that. Again, it was to make SmackDown feel, like this was a season premiere, right? And I always talk about this, like having your talent or having people in the crowd and just kind of showcasing them is always really cool. Guys, I did write down in the notes too, Andrade and Carmelo Hayes be having some crazy bangers, and we need to talk about this. That's literally the headline of the note. Andrade and Melo have been doing a series of matches. On Friday, it was a number one contenders opportunity, which was really cool because for Carmelo Hayes, he's a newer guy on the roster from NXT. Andrade's a former WWE guy, went to AEW, came back. A lot of people were looking at these guys like they need an opportunity to go out there. They have incredible chemistry. The way that these guys work together, it's incredible. It's incredible. And like I'll be honest with you guys, I think Carmelo actually losing the match it's more of a win for himself long term, because I don't know if WWE has plans for LA Knight to drop the belt to Andrade, but I do feel like if you're looking at establishing the mid card for Friday Night SmackDown, you could kind of go both ways, right? You can go with Andrade, you could go with Carmelo. LA Knight's biggest strength is his talking, it's his promos. Carmelo Hayes is very good on the microphone, but Carmelo Hayes is also very good in the ring. And I think LA Knight like if you're looking at a match quality perspective, I think LA Knight, he might be able to give you a decent match, but I think there's a lot more money in the sense of Andrade and Carmelo eventually feuding again for the US title. I don't know if LA Knight's going to drop the belt, and maybe it would be premature to think that he does. But when I look at this mid card, I feel like if you're SmackDown, you got to build it around Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. They had a great match, dude. Like another great match. I don't know what it is about these two, but the way that they work together, like kudos has to be given to them, man. Kudos has to be given to them, because it's like they go out there, they do their thing. The sequence is really nice. Andrade is very clean as a wrestler. Do we get Jose, the assistant, joining Andrade at some point? That could be huge. And I have a feeling it could be possibility that we start seeing that soon, maybe even as soon as next week, because next week it's going to be LA Knight versus Andrade US Championship match. One of the things, though, I do want to mention, and this is where I get a little bit disappointed in WWE, the mid card is clearly stronger booked on Raw than it is SmackDown. Like, I should, off of the top of my head, already start thinking about other guys who could take the belt off of LA Knight. And when I see how strong those matches are between Carmelo and Andrade, those are like the first two that come to my mind. Jacob Fatu could be a US champion, and maybe they decide to go that route. But Jacob Fatu is already in a situation that is far greater than the US title picture. So that is one of those things that I am considering. Like, there's no clear-cut mid-card champions aside from those three, at least off the top of my head. I'll look at the chat if you guys have anybody off the top of your head. I'm not looking on WWE.com, If I have to do that, then that tells you there's an issue with booking. And there is, to a certain extent, because I do think to a certain extent they got to get better with establishing that mid card for sure. One thing I really liked, I'm not always into the talk segments. Obviously, I prefer to talk about the storylines and stuff. Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax continue to have like this weird rocky relationship. They're in the segment with Bayley and Naomi. I actually like this segment. You know, Naomi's kind of just been floating around in the women's division, and you know, Bayley, Naomi, Tiffany, Nia. We're obviously going to see what goes down and what's going to happen for the women's championship. But I like the fact that Tiffany, you know, blames Nia Jax for her loss, but like she doesn't mean it in such a bad way. I just thought that was really cool. Like it's just a nice little way to keep the storyline going. I love how Tiffany Stratton gets a little cocky at the end too, and she goes to attack Naomi with the briefcase, but she gets hit with the rear view. Super clean. Nice moment for the baby faces stepping up. So I did like that. I did like that a lot. I thought that was really cool. One thing I was gonna say as well, gotta mention this. WWE could be planning the dumpster match coming back. So Vicky Guerrero, Nick Aldis on SmackDown Lowdown. When it comes to Chelsea Green versus Mia Yim, there's talks of that coming back. I don't know, like that was a really cool little thing on SmackDown Lowdown. So I did like that. What else happened on SmackDown? Obviously the end with Cody and Roman signing the contract. Absolutely love Cody and Roman coming together. I love the fact that there's a dynamic there where it just seems like for the most part these guys don't really want to work with each other. Cody Rhodes doesn't really want to work with Roman. Roman doesn't really want to work with Cody. But this isn't a can they coexist. This is more of a they're going to be forced to coexist because they have a common enemy. And I absolutely love that. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Cody and Roman versus Solo and Jacob Fatu at Bad Blood. Guys, I mean, how do we're going into a pay-per-view that Jacob Fatu could very well be main eventing. This is such a strong storyline. Cody and Roman are so great. To me, this is Rock and Stone Cold vibes, you know, and I love that. I think that's huge, man. It's like one of those things. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You know, here's the thing too. I kind of want to point this out because we're talking about SmackDown. Cody and Roman together feels like such a big deal, and they'll probably win the match. But what's even crazier about Bad Blood is how crazy would it be if maybe that's when The Rock returns? Or how crazy would it be if WWE has Cody and Roman lose because the bloodline interfere and Hikuleo debuts, and you end with the visual of The Rock celebrating with those two? Like, not to be some crazy fantasy booker, but if you really, really, really want to make things happen, you should have Roman and Cody lose. If you have Roman and Cody lose, the beauty of Roman and Cody losing is that it then makes Roman have to bring back Jimmy and Jey Uso. And that would be pretty damn sick. Like, that would be really exciting to me. So I don't know. We'll get to the Bad Blood predictions once we get closer to October, but that is something to factor in. We did get another super chat from Darth Bane for $1.99. Look, Jacob gave Solo, you know that turn is Jacob gave Solo, you know that turn is coming. Yes. The look is there. The seeds are planted. It's just, when are they going to do it? That's the real question, is when are they going to do the turn? At some point, Jacob Fatu is going to turn on Solo. And all WWE is really doing is just rehashing the same thing that they did with Solo Sikoa to Roman Reigns. And I like that. Like, I personally, guys, I think that's a good thing. Like, recycle it, reuse it, because something about being the tribal chief, it always leads to somebody turning on you. It leads to somebody wanting your position. And I think, you know, if I were WWE and I'm thinking long term, and this is just my opinion, but like long term, after what we saw on NXT the other week where Jacob Fatu was with God, those three, can you imagine if Jacob Fatu was leading his own faction and Solo Sikoa had to go do his own thing? Like eventually things could get really juicy with this storyline. So I don't know. I'm excited. There's a lot of different ways they could go about this for sure. But that's what excites me because it's like there's a million predictions that could all seem pretty reasonable. Thank you again, Darth Bane, for the super chats. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah, let's talk about some news. SmackDown was good. Good episode. Let's talk about some news. All right. So, let's see what we want to talk about. I saw some people mentioning this. I saw some people mention in the chat earlier about the Mercedes Moné news. Somebody sent a link to me on Discord. So it came from Ringside News. I don't know if Ringside News is the best at this reporting stuff, but a lot of people have actually sent this over. A lot of people are asking me for my opinion, so I'm going to read it to you guys. Ringside News has learned that Saraya isn't apparently a fan of Mercedes Moné, who has her own entourage and private locker room at every show. We have also been informed that Britt Baker is also having issues behind the scenes, with Mercedes Moné being a major source of frustration. Sources suggest that backstage drama at AEW has become a regular occurrence, with conflicts between talent arising nearly every week. While not every issue becomes public, it's evident that tensions are simmering behind the scenes, and the drama shows no signs of disappearing any soon. So it's interesting reading this. But this is what I will say. I don't know the validity of the report. So let's just, I'll give you guys two sides of the coin here, okay? And this is huge because I think for a variety of reasons, people need to understand that backstage drama is going to happen at any workplace, okay? So there's two sides to every story. There's two sides of the coin. I think people need to understand two different perspectives. One, I think Mercedes Moné portrays a character that is not really who she is. Now, I don't know Mercedes Moné. I can't speak for her as a person. But what I will say is this. She portrays the character of the CEO. Cocky, entitled, all of this stuff, right? Is that who she really is behind the scenes? I don't know. I don't know her. But is there a possibility that fake news could be leaked? Right? Because you got to think this would be fake news. It could be fake news, fake reports going out. Is it possible that it could be a fake story to get fans to even further hate on Mercedes Moné? Because let's face it, Mercedes went to AEW, and if you go to social media, everybody buries Mercedes for going to AEW. They hate watch AEW. They'll talk about how bad her run is, but not necessarily watch what she's doing on TV. So is it a possibility that it could be a fake story planted? Because that very well falls in line with the character. I don't know. That's a possibility. Is it a possibility that it could actually be true that Mercedes does have her own entourage and private locker room every week? I think that could be possible. Now listen, I'm going to tell you guys, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. Mercedes was a big time signing for AEW. She was. And so I think for me personally, I know some people would hate this, but if I worked at AEW and I saw Mercedes get that special treatment and I didn't get that special treatment, I wouldn't be upset or bothered by it because I would feel like she did what she was supposed to do to earn that level of treatment. That's just my opinion. I believe that if you want the best things in this world, you got to go out and work for it. If you want preferential VIP treatment, you got to be a VIP kind of person. And so here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know about this report. I don't know how accurate Ringside News is. But clearly it's enough for people in the chat to keep asking about it. I think at the same time, I think if this is real, right? This is truly real. And let's say people have an issue with Mercedes. That sucks for Tony Khan and AEW. Because you have people upset about things like that. Here's the thing. I'm just being honest. This sucks to say, but like, where is your value? What value are you bringing to the show? What value are you bringing to AEW? How are you getting people to talk about AEW? Mercedes was a big free agent name. Guess what? Britt Baker wasn't. Britt Baker came into the company and became the star of the show. But this report doesn't show that Britt Baker has issues with Mercedes having her own entourage and private locker room. Her issue with Mercedes might be different. But Saraya came in, barely worked for AEW, barely did anything for AEW, and AEW gave her the biggest moment ever at All In. I don't know. There's just something about this that I don't know if I believe the report. Honestly, guys, I feel like this is just absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, too, I'm the type of person, if you see other people getting better treatment than you, step it up. Make people talk about you. I'm sorry, but I do not believe in this whole thing. Because I went to a corporate job forever. Some people get brought in and at the end of the day, some people are brought in for their skills and their value, and maybe the company didn't think you had the same value, but then guess what? You shut the hell up, you put in the work, you put in the grind, and you make them remember why they value you. And then you start getting the preferential treatment. I don't know. I'm sorry, but like Mercedes, I don't buy this, honestly, more than anything. I think that her character falls very much in line with this, but if people have an issue with Mercedes, take care of it, figure it out, fix it, because it ain't worth it. By the way, Saraya, Britt Baker, Mercedes, those are some of the top names in the women's division. Unbelievable. AEW always has some weird reports coming out about backstage stuff, man. And if Mercedes negotiated this and other people couldn't negotiate that, that's crazy. Which, by the way, how many stories have we heard about Tony Khan providing his jet to talent in the cases of emergency or because they need it for something? I don't know. I'm not buying this. Something's weird about it. Something is very weird about it. I just have a very strong feeling that if they have an issue with Mercedes Moné, it is not because of her entourage or private locker room, because that's not a new thing in pro wrestling. Some wrestlers were given a bus, some wrestlers weren't, right? I don't think this is the case. I think maybe the issue could be something a little bit different. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't believe that's the case. And if that truly is the issue with Mercedes and people don't like the fact that she's getting preferential treatment, my suggestion is Make everybody love you, make everybody fall in love with you, make everybody love you forever, because Mercedes came into AEW with a very, very, very strong, passionate fan base. The people loved Mercedes, and ultimately at the end of the day, that was a big thing for AEW. I think there's more value behind Sasha Banks than Mercedes, but we're not going to sit here and act like Mercedes ain't a big deal, because ultimately she is a big deal. And even though I don't think her AEW run has been that great, this is a person that has literally changed women's wrestling and changing women's wrestling for AEW, which is the most important thing, because nobody before Mercedes was able to actually grow AEW's women's division despite how good they were. So it's just as simple as that. For sure. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know, man. I don't know why this company has stories like that, but it is what it is. Oh, yes. Yes, we could talk about Def Rebel. Let me pull it up for you guys. Okay. So yeah, this past weekend, WWE is undergoing a major change. There's a major departure. It's Def Rebel. According to Pro Wrestling Nexus, they have reported that WWE is not looking to continue their relationship with Def Rebel going forward. Once the contract with them expires, it is said that WWE is scrapping them and will instead look towards using more mainstream artists in the future. Wow. I like that. 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 I like that for a lot of reasons. Def Rebel, absolute garbage. Def Rebel 9 times out of 10 had a shitty theme song for a talent. 1 in every 10 tries ends up being a banger. So this is what I'm going to say. Def Rebel leaving WWE is best for business. 1000%. Def Rebel is, look. Def Rebel, I remember earlier in the year there was talks, by the way, that Def Rebel was going to, you know, potentially be on their way out. We talked about that on the channel. Fightful Select had reported at one point that WWE was well aware of people not liking Def Rebel, which, by the way, before we talk about the future of WWE music, let's just get one thing clear here, because this is probably the most important thing that you guys need to understand. Theme music for wrestlers is so damn important. I don't know, for like the last 5 years watching the Royal Rumble, it gets really annoying when you hear a random theme song and you think it might actually be a surprise, but you can't tell because the theme song that you're listening to is absolutely garbage and it doesn't have an identity. I'm sorry, but that made it very difficult to watch Royal Rumbles. The theme music in WWE is supposed to go hand in hand with somebody's character. It's supposed to go hand in hand. Like, it should be synchronized together. And for some reason, WWE theme music was not doing that. A guy would walk out, the music doesn't really match. The theme song wouldn't be that good. I mean, holy shit, dude. The theme music was atrocious. So as you can imagine, I'm excited that Def Rebel's not going to be there. I don't want to see Def Rebel make music for WWE stars. I don't. But this is what I will say. The interesting part of the report is that WWE is scrapping them and will instead look towards using more mainstream artists in the future. Yo, did you guys see, chat? Did you guys see the response to the fans for WWE using Meg Thee Stallion? Oh my God. People were saying on Twitter that Meg Thee Stallion's theme song for SmackDown, it's not wrestling music. So I don't know how to classify what wrestling music is, but I'm a hip hop guy. Like, I listen to hip hop and I listen to house music. I grew up on hip hop. I have a wide taste of hip hop. I used to produce hip hop, rock, country, dance. It doesn't matter what the genre is. Everything is acceptable for pro wrestling. It just depends how you do it. It depends who it's for. So WWE using mainstream music is actually the right call, because using mainstream music could potentially open up doors to a different audience. So, for example, WWE using Meg Thee Stallion, some people don't like it. I don't like the song. I think the song is trash. But I think it is good for WWE to use Meg Thee Stallion. All it takes, by the way, is one Meg Thee Stallion fan who doesn't watch wrestling to be clicking through the channels, sees USA Network, and hears her song, and they're like, whoa, who is this? That's how I look at it. The thing with mainstream music, the reason why this is such an interesting time period for WWE is if WWE does mainstream music and they have mainstream artists, it's going to be really interesting to see how WWE connects those songs to the wrestlers. That's how I look at it. Theme music is such a big, important part of the wrestler's identity. So use mainstream artists. But I don't want to hear none of this bullshit from people about what is considered wrestling music. I don't want to hear that shit. John Cena's theme song is not wrestling music. The Bloodlines music is not wrestling music. That's a cinematic experience. What is wrestling music? Somebody can't identify that to me. They just say metal. And that sounds like a lot of biasness because maybe you prefer metal. I don't think this means that Roman Reigns is going to be walking down to the ring with The Weeknd. I don't think Jay-Z is going to be performing a song for Cody Rhodes. I don't think that's how it's going to be. But I do think they're just going to open up their range of artists that they work with. In fact, I would go as far as predicting WWE truly launching a record label or a distribution label for WWE music. I could see that happening. WWE wants to be everywhere. I mean, they kind of already have it. Why not do something like that? Gather a group of artists. You know? I'll say this too. Listen to Daniel Garcia's music in AEW. That's not wrestling music, but it fits. That's why I say, what is wrestling music? Nobody could really tell me. Wrestling music is the music that fits for the wrestler. That's all that matters. I don't care who makes it. Honestly, if Def Rebel was good at making music, I would have been cool for that. But Def Rebel's just not good. A lot of songs had no identity. They had nothing to make them feel important. Mikey Ruckus in AEW, by the way, if you guys don't know who he is, check him out. He's the guy that does the theme songs in AEW. He always figures out a way to make a theme song for somebody that fits their identity. So that's all you need to know. Def Rebel's gone, thank God. At the end of the year, I don't know who it's going to be that does it next. Maybe Jim Johnston, maybe Lil Wayne. I don't know. But it's the right decision for sure. Excuse me. Some stuff from TNA. some stuff from TNA, and then we'll call it a day. Because like I said, I'm just not really feeling it right now. Not feeling 100%. No big deal. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about those TNA debuts. Some WWE stars hit TNA. And we'll be right back.
Blow the speakers. Speakers.
And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Okay. If you don't want to be spoiled, now would be the time to leave the stream, because after we discuss this, we're calling it a day. But there were a couple debuts at TNA's tapings this past week, and I want to remind everybody before we discuss this, this is a spoiler, okay? This is a spoiler. I spoke to people in attendance at TNA's tapings in San Antonio after a fantastic episode, or PLE, of Victory Road. And there were a couple debuts that happened at the TNA tapings. Couple things that you guys need to know about those tapings. Ariana Grace did return because she is the liaison working NXT and TNA. It's actually really cool how they've done that and put that on TV so far. She returned for the TV tapings to continue doing that. That's cool. There were 3 total debuts at TNA's tapings. So as I've said earlier, if you didn't click off by now, you're getting spoiled. But there is a very big reason why I'm excited about this. 2 of them are lesser known names in NXT. Kendall Gray and Carly Bright from NXT competed on the show. Now, really quick, if you don't know who they are, let me explain why this is important. They just started appearing on WWE NXT television. You may have seen them on NXT Level Up. Chat. The reason why I'm telling you about this being a good thing is because I talked about the need for WWE and TNA in their partnership. I talked about WWE utilizing TNA as another place for lesser experienced talent to work, to be given a little bit more opportunity. And that's exactly what is happening here. So when I see and when I'm told that Kendall Gray and Carly Bright were given that opportunity, that excites me, because that shows that WWE is utilizing the partnership the correct way. Now, on the flip side, you're going to have people say, hey, WWE should send AJ Styles. WWE should send a top person here. I do think to some point they should do that. I do think they should bring bigger names into TNA at some point. I do agree. But the most important thing about NXT and TNA's partnership is allowing the lesser experienced people being able to given more opportunity to wrestle and pick up things on the wrestling business. There are some great people they can learn from at TNA, and there's less pressure to perform in TNA. And also, for talent to go to TNA, win or lose, WWE can utilize them on TNA's programming without having them take up TV time on NXT's TV show. And that obviously benefits NXT because people are getting experience and they don't have to waste a 2-hour show on people trying to get experienced. That is very clear that WWE NXT is going to be moving towards a more of a third brand. At least that's how I'm looking at it. Another debut that happened at another debut that happened at TNA's Tapings was the debut of Xia Li. And Xia Li, we've seen some vignettes. She made her debut. Her new name is Lei Ying Li. Her graphics, I've been told, are incredibly fire. Her presentation in TNA is incredibly good. She's a released WWE superstar. She worked some indies. She went to TNA. A great place for her to get some more experience. A great place for her to go and show WWE what they're missing out on. And that's huge. Another name that debuted, there was 4 debuts. Another name that debuted was Sol Ruca. How exciting is that? I think this is great news for TNA. TNA's attendance went up. I don't know if you guys saw Victory Road, but their attendance went up. People are buying tickets to TNA shows. This is a company that's been pretty hard to kill. And that pun is intended. This is a company that still brings in people. They still bring in some names. This is a company that has figured out a way to survive all the times that were truly difficult. Sol Ruca is a very big part of WWE NXT's future. To be honest, Sol Ruca is going to be a very big part of WWE. For her to go to TNA and get, a nice little run over there, that's great. But I also like the idea that they're sending the inexperienced people. Oh, and then it just so happens that TNA signs Xia Li. It seems like every time TNA does tapings now, fans are incentivized for going because you really don't know who's going to show up. I'm not talking about big game changers. I'm not talking about anything like that. It's just the fact that literally anything could happen when you go to this event. And that, excuse me. That's cool, man. TNA tickets aren't as expensive as WWE tickets. They're not as expensive as these bigger shows. So you spend a little bit of money, you go, you get a couple hours of wrestling. Oh, and by the way, so-and-so might show up. As a fan, I like that. I like that, considering that Dynamite, Raw, and SmackDown is a little bit more predictable. But the NXT and TNA partnership allows it to be a little bit more unpredictable. You literally just don't know who's going to show up. So, to me, I'm excited about that. I also think that we need to do stuff like this more often. If you're WWE and TNA, you know, TNA just lost Giselle Shaw. TNA might lose Jordan Grace, guys. That's a possibility. But if WWE and TNA work together, you can make up for it. You can make up for it by sending talent. I want to see more from this partnership, bro. I want to see what TNA does. I'm not saying TNA needs to be selling 5,000 tickets, but if you look at their attendance for TNA this past weekend, and you look at what AEW Collision did, they are not far off. And TNA has actually done a really good job. I don't know who made this decision, but TNA did a really good job of choosing these venues where they make it even look more full. Excuse me. We're live, baby. This is just how it is. But they do a good job of making it seem full. And the crowd is good. I love it. I love it a lot. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be. And it's a good thing to see. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. I don't know what the hell I'm feeling. I have no idea. But I appreciate you all being with me. Hopefully tomorrow's better. The show continues. Thank you all for sticking around. And I'll see you next time.